Hey, thank you for coming to listen to me speak. I actually cut down a lot of my presentation because yesterday I tried this presentation with my wife. I exceeded by 1 hour, so I talked for 2 hours, okay? So there's a lot of stuff that I can present. I'm going to give you just the distilled version, the essence of what I want to talk about today. So there's two parts to my presentation actually. The first part is how to develop apps as a solo developer and how to make money developing apps. Okay, let's go. This is the overview. Don't worry, there's a lot of stuff. Each part I will summarize at the beginning, and then I will make sure you don't get lost. Okay, introduction. A little bit about me and the project first. Okay. So for me, I'm a self-taught developer. My degree is in politics. I don't have any degree in engineering, math, or computer science. I also did not attend any boot camps, so I'm purely self-taught. I taught myself through YouTube videos, reading documentation, and just dabbling and just trying coding out. I started my career as a Naval Officer. So I'm a Naval Officer of 6 years. I quit in 2019. I moved to Japan with my wife. At that time, I haven't touched code yet. So when I was in Japan, I worked part-time and I studied a little bit of coding, and I tried to develop apps for my own personal use. And then 2020, COVID happened, right? Nobody was allowed to go out. So what do? We stayed at home and I just coded. I just studied software engineering concepts, did more courses online that were like from Udemy or like YouTube videos. And I managed to launch my app mid-2020, my first one. It's a very simple app. I also managed to get employed. So I've been employed for in my company. My company is called GAOGAO. We are a Japanese startup. I was approached by my boss to join his company, and he took a chance on me. At that time, I didn't have much experience, but I learned along the way. So I started this app as a side project. Last year, 2022, with a friend, and this app called Bizbulk will be the main app that I will use as an example in this presentation. Okay, so GAOGAO is my day job, Bizbulk is my side gig. Okay, the point of me telling you my story is that I want you to know that I believe everybody here is in a better position than me when I started out. I think a lot of you here I spoke to, you are already developers, you are somewhere within the development chain, you are QA team, you are part of the design team. I had none of those things. Okay, so if I can do it, you probably can do it as well, given enough time. Okay, a little bit more about me. This is my project history. So this is within 3 years, yeah. I have been involved in multiple mobile projects and web application projects. I'm also interested, I'm very interested in making games in C#, and I'm also certified DevOps machine learning trained by AWS. I picked up machine learning through a course I did, AISG, during COVID. It was a cheap course. But I learned quite a lot, and I enjoyed doing machine learning. I enjoyed training models. I don't do all the fancy deep learning LLM stuff, but I do the traditional statistical modeling of how you predict whether or not somebody has an illness or not. That's kind of modeling. So if you want to talk to me about it, I'm happy to talk about it as well. The main focus for me in this presentation is to tell you on both, to give you some concepts on both the technical areas and non-technical areas. I think the technical areas speak for itself, but I have to emphasize that the non-technical areas, the areas in which developers, engineers, they don't think about so much in their day job, is really important when you are developing as a solo developer and if you want your app to make money. Okay, so these are the assumptions, okay? I assume that you are full-time employed or you are a full-time student. It means that the time that you have to develop this app is weeknights and weekends. Maybe you have 2 hours on Friday or you have a whole day on Saturday. Basically, you have very little time. You also have very little energy because your job is very hard. I believe so. you have little mental capacity. So it's not just time. You need the mental capacity to do this side gig. You also self-funded because I don't believe that VC will back you when you're doing a side project like this. Limited resources, but don't worry, I'll teach you how to lower your costs later on. Okay, so my talk is an intermediate level, okay? Basic coding skills required. If you don't have any coding skills, you can still develop app as a solo developer. You probably won't make money because the apps you're going to develop are probably the basic stuff. But given enough time, you go step by step like me. You will go from making simple apps to slightly complicated apps to making something that is of value to somebody and somebody is willing to pay for it. And so that's the step-by-step process. Okay, the goal. The goal is 3 parts. Number 1, make MVP. MVP is the first milestone that you have to hit. If you have an MVP, you are able to test, you are able to get feedback, you are able to check for production level bugs. The next one is MMP. MMP is your market-ready product. This one will generate you the money. MVP is just for getting feedback, making sure that it's clean, making sure that things work. MMP is the one that you don't want things to fail. You want to generate money, you want people to have a smooth experience, okay? Okay, sorry to disappoint people, but if you think you're going to make a lot of money, sorry, no, you're going to make a lot of money. If you're going to make a lot of money, then this will probably not be a side project, it will probably be your main job. But hopefully, you can test the concept. If you test the concept within a few years, and people like it, and your user base grows and your revenue grows, maybe you can consider having this as your full-time gig. I know some people that have done this. Okay, pre-development phase, let's go. There are 3 phases. This phase is the most important. If you get this wrong, you will cause a lot of problems later on in your development. So the next phase is development and then post-development. If you struggle with this phase, you will need to overhaul your product or you will struggle with the actual launch. So the pre-development phase in 2 parts is really, really important. The first is the business plan and then the architecture, your tech architecture. Okay, so I actually am a 2-man team. My co-founder deals with the business type of stuff. So I'm here purely to talk about the tech things, okay? But you have to communicate with business people in their language. So it's very frustrating for me sometimes because my co-founder does not understand the tech at all, 100% does not understand. So sometimes when I'm telling him something, he will keep asking me and I will keep saying the same terms that I use in my work and he won't understand. So you have to be patient a bit if you're dealing with a non-technical person. But the core of the product is to make money, and in order to make money, you must solve a problem. So this is the business problem. 3 questions: what is the problem? What is the source of revenue? And what is there an existing system that already is in the market? So for my app, Bizbulk, this is the problem that we are trying to solve in 2 parts. To the sellers that we have onboarded, they do not sell their products on mass market sites like Lazada or Shopee because their products are premium. They don't want to diminish their brand. The second thing for them is that they need a bulk order because they're doing generally B2B business. If you were to send 1 by 1 packets of fish, packets of meat to individual people, not worth for them. They want 1 delivery to 1 place. So they need bulk orders. To the buyers, you are not going to buy 20 sashimi. We sell sashimi. So you're not going to buy like a whole fish, okay, unless you're having a party, right? So you want to group buy these things. But we also see that group buys are done very manually. You go to WhatsApp, you go to Telegram, many chats, aunties, uncles asking you whether you want this product, how much you want, pay me, pay now, these kind of things. Very manual. Our app does everything for you. You don't have to go anywhere else. Source of revenue, suppliers will pay us a small percentage of each order that is cleared. So if the order doesn't clear, they don't pay us. They don't have a payment fee or whatever. So it makes sense to them. If there's no purchases on our app, they don't pay anything. Is there an existing system? Yeah, sure. There's a few group buy apps out there, one called WeBuy, another called Pinduoduo, generally Chinese services, but we are not selling the same things as them. They are more mass market purchases, they're also not selling perishables. Most of the time they sell furniture, they do like bulk orders of non-perishable things. So a little bit different. Okay, this is the architecture, what I need from my app. These are the core requirements and the good to have. Okay, the only thing I want to highlight is why I chose a mobile first UI is because a lot of times, right, people buy stuff on their mobile phone when they're commuting. So when I'm on the MRT, like coming here, I see people watching videos, playing games. They're also buying stuff. And sometimes they buy stuff, I'm not sure what is their thought process, but they don't really check on the stuff they buy. They just like to buy stuff on MRT. So I feel that having people go through an app that's on a mobile phone is much smoother than asking them to log into a browser-based app and having that as the platform to buy stuff. Mobile app for e-commerce, very easy to use. People already using it, so you have to teach them how to do it. Okay, next. Okay, so traditionally, if I want to do a mobile app, there's two target platforms, Android and iOS. The problem is these two things are completely different. If you want to deploy on Android, it's a totally different code base, different IDE, different coding language. You want to deploy on iOS, you have to use proprietary Mac products, which are expensive, and I don't like it. So the tech gods sent us cross-platform frameworks. Okay, there's two cross-platform frameworks which are the most dominant in the market right now: Flutter and React Native. And I won't go into detail too much about React Native. I'll talk more about Flutter because I chose Flutter. Interestingly, a lot of the things that React Native has advantage over, Flutter is trying to do or already has done. So I think that there is still strong support and it will continue to grow. There's this one that I will highlight, which is called Code Push. I thought that Code Push was not possible in Flutter. Code Push means you can send updates over the air. You don't have to get users to download an update on your app. React Native can do Code Push because JavaScript supports Code Push. So if you have a patch, you don't need users to do anything. The patch will update when the user opens the app. I thought this was not possible with Flutter. Now it's possible, but it's a paid service, so I don't use it yet. Okay, so popularity of Flutter. Last year, overtook React Native in popularity. So it's now the dominant, the #1 cross-platform framework for developing mobile. So what is Flutter? I think not many people have heard of Flutter, even though it's very popular. I love Flutter. So I'm wearing a Flutter t-shirt. I don't work for Flutter, okay? I got this t-shirt when I went for the Flutter meetup in Silicon Valley. I met some of the engineers there, actually working on Flutter. They're very nice people. And they explained a little bit about what they're trying to do. So what is Flutter? Flutter is owned by Google. Open source, completely open source, so you can see how the app, how the engine runs. The current version I checked yesterday was this version. Not really meaningful to us now. But the important thing you have to note is that it uses Dart. So Dart is not a popular programming language. You probably have not used Dart in anywhere else. But Flutter uses it. They chose it for various reasons. Okay, Flutter supports all views, including web. So latest is web support. You can deploy Flutter as a web application. So previously, they actually used JavaScript HTML. They actually are now testing out WebAssembly to deploy on web, which is so that they don't have to bridge to JavaScript, which I think is quite brilliant. The high-level architecture of Flutter is this. This is on the image on the right. So you are 99% of the time developing at the Dart level, the top level. There is a Flutter engine, and there is an embedder that ships with the Flutter app. So Flutter does not do bridging like React Native. React Native transfers JavaScript code into the native views for iOS and for Android. Flutter does not do this. Flutter ships the entire rendering engine with the app. So in my opinion, there's a lot of benefits to do this. It's faster and it's less buggy, more stable UI when you deploy. If you want to talk more about this, I'm happy to go into details. It's very, very technical, but this is one of the reasons why I love Flutter. All right, quickly go through a few companies that use Flutter. These are the companies that use Flutter, and yeah, these are apps they use. All right, cloud option. So obviously, I'm not going to deploy a physical server. That's crazy, right? Like I have to buy a physical server and I have to maintain a physical server. I'm going to use managed services by cloud providers. The cloud provider that I chose is actually Google Cloud, and the reason for this is because first, Flutter is owned by Google. So if I use Google Cloud and the services, it's easily integrated. They already planned out the integration with Flutter. The second thing is that there is one service that the other two major cloud providers don't have, which is push notifications. So push notifications is when you receive notifications on your mobile phone. That is a push notification. Firebase supports that. Firebase is owned by Google Cloud. So Firebase supports that. The rest need to call Google service. So it's one more step. So I might as well use Google services all in one place. Of course, if you are more comfortable using AWS or Azure, go ahead. It's perfectly good options as well. So a little bit about Firebase. Firebase is owned by Google. It's their cloud and their mobile and web development platform. Their services are curated, so they pick the services that they think you need to build your application. So the services that I use are these are the services that I use. If you want to do more heavy workloads like deploy Docker or Kubernetes clusters, you want to do AI, big data and everything, it's on a separate console. It's on the GCP console, the Google Cloud Provider console. Firebase is a scaled down lightweight version and easy to use because everything is in the console. And it's also, the SDK is integrated with Flutter, so it's very easy to use. Okay, I mentioned Stripe because that's my payment gateway. There are obviously other payment gateways which I'm not going to compare with because I felt that there's two parts, okay, to my app that I don't compromise. One is user data and the other is payments. So for quality, I go with Stripe because it has the best customer experience in my opinion, and it integrates well with my app and it accepts global payments. And so the last point there supports Paynow. I think that was quite important for me also. So I chose Stripe. There's Molly, there's Braintree, there's Braintree Venmo, there's Google Pay is a separate thing. I can integrate Google Pay using Stripe also. But the main form of payment that I want to hit is credit card. So payment gateway Stripe. So this is the final architecture of which services that I need to accomplish certain core requirements. The one that you see there, there's a question mark, is geolocation. I hope to be able to cover it later on. I want to have time for that. Okay, this is the... Okay, you see that there's a React there, but the React is mainly for my website. It's not for the mobile app. Yeah, I can explain more about that if I have time. Alright, development phase. 80% of my time is spent here. I need to have very fast and very smooth development because I'm a solo guy, and also because I don't have a lot of energy to fix problems if they come up. So I'm going to run through some of the principles that I adhere to, and these principles help me develop my app. I built this app on the site 8 months. Deployed from zero to deployment, 8 months. And actually within the 8 months, I spent the first 4 months building the MVP, and then after that refining it. We deployed it in April this year. So the first 4 months MVP, the next 4 months MMP. These are the principles. Number one, speed over cost, cost over quality. Okay, if you had to choose speed, cost, quality, I always choose speed first, then cost, then quality. Okay, doesn't mean that I have no quality in my app. Doesn't mean that my app is lousy. It means that if you have a decision that you need to make, you need to go with one that goes the fastest, then the one that has the cheapest cost, then the quality comes in. But like I said, there are two parts of my app which I don't compromise on quality: user data and payments. Okay, so how do I achieve this in practice? When I want to achieve speed, I'm not going to come up with my own solution. Most of the time, I'm copying code. I'm looking at other people's techniques, looking at other people's solution. No shame in doing this. I'm sure everybody does this. Okay. Streamline processes. You don't want to be thinking about when is your next deadline, what is the next task that you're going to accomplish, what is the password to this email, what is the password to this console. Everything must be chop, ready for you to go when you sit down and deploy. If you have 2 hours, you don't want to be struggling with your system for 1 hour and then only have 1 hour to develop. I develop, like I said, this is 80% of my time is spent here. I need to make sure that my processes are streamlined. Cost. Maintain free tier if you can. Always look at what the free tier is, don't burst the free tier. I ever burst AWS free tier, it cost me $200, but of course it was a mistake, so I learned from that mistake. Don't burst free tier. Put alarms on your billing. Use open source. Okay, luckily all my even my IED, everything is open source for me. So if there's an open source option, use it. If you want a database open source, Redis. There's paid options, sure. If you want to use paid options, you can. But I recommend that you use open source because you don't start in debt in your app already. Quality, optimize if necessary. Do this if it reduces your speed, if it reduces your if it makes your app vulnerable to cyber attacks or cyber security. Don't compromise on those things. But other than that, I would say quality is the last one to consider. Okay, I won't talk too much about this, but the main thing that I want to highlight is that you are not going to be in a field where it's cutting edge. You're not going to be at quantum technology or like LLMs. You're going to be in a market where things are tried and tested. You don't want to be struggling with a system or teaching people how to use your app. My app is e-commerce. Everybody knows how to buy things online. I don't have to teach them how to do it. I don't need them to trust my system because even though there's scams, but there's ways, there's already security policies and ways that banks have implemented to prevent scams. If I'm trying to sell you a Bitcoin or like a blockchain technology, you are going to research and you are going to check whether this is legitimate or not. You're not going to buy my product straight away. I don't want this to happen. Speed is the most important for me, and I don't want to have to teach you how to use my product, and I don't want to convince you that my product is good to buy. The second thing is that second mouse gets the cheese. You don't want to be in a technology where it's too new because the first mouse gets trapped. LLMs, hallucination, nobody knew about it until it came out. Inconsistency, nobody knew until it came out. Blockchain, so many problems with it right now that prevent it from being such a robust Web3 technology. So you don't want to be caught as the first mouse. Second mouse is fine. You can be the 10th mouse, no problem. As long as you have enough cheese to go around, you can eat from the cheese. Okay, don't break things. This is the Facebook mantra, okay? Move fast and break things. Because if you break things, you have to clean it up. So in my development, I install guardrails, and I will tell you what those guardrails are later. Okay, number 4 is not so much a development principle, but I feel that if you want to go fast, you go alone. So if you're forming a team or you're thinking about forming a team, you are a product manager, you find like Ahwat from design, you find like Asing from backend, you find like Dexter from like another backend engineer. Don't do that. You are tempted to do that, don't do that. I had a game project fail because there are too many members. You end up coordinating meetings, you end up resolving conflicts, you end up having to agree with things and then people not replying. People will get disillusioned and they'll leave. So if you want to go fast, the best one-man team, no problem. One man can do everything. Okay, these are the tools that I use. I don't really have to talk so much about this. I think you have seen most of this before. The one thing I will highlight is that you don't have to buy the physical devices. You can use emulators. Until you're ready to test it on a physical device, you probably can borrow. Somebody will have an iPad. Somebody will have a MacBook. Okay, this part. This is my flow. I thought about this a lot because I also do development as my day job. So in a big company, you probably have product manager doing this, you have designers doing this part, you have front and back end team doing this part, you have QA team doing testing, you have CDCI team doing the push. You are one-man band, you have to do everything. Okay? If you ever thought to yourself, this guy in my team, no good, I can do a better job, you do it, you have no choice. Everything is yours. Okay, these are my guardrails, okay? There are three typically, generally I group them into three categories. Testing, unit test, the standard stuff. On-off switches, this one I designed inside the app to close off any parts of the app that I feel is vulnerable or is a problem. The rest of the app works fine, but I need to be able to toggle this switch, such as payments, block payments if there's a problem with payments, or prevent people from buying things if there's a problem with that. This is to intervene, for you to quickly intervene if there's a problem. Okay, type variables is because I code in both Dart and JavaScript. So the basic types are different. I ever had a production issue because my cloud function couldn't distinguish between null and undefined. So I strongly urge you, even though it may take a little bit of time, but you need to create your custom classes in both all the languages that you are coding in. Make sure that they have the correct typings so that they don't crash in production. Oh yeah, this one is also because, yeah, like I said, the Dart type. Dart has typed variables. JavaScript is a bit iffy. So I do TypeScript. I chose TypeScript specifically because of the typing. I could have done it in JavaScript, but like I said, it's a bit tricky. Okay, I will come back to here if there's time. I think there's no time, and also because I can't hook up my Windows laptop. But you are one-man band. I will show you the whole flow, the whole development flow as one person, and I'll do it within 5 minutes. Okay, post-development phase. All right, you deployed, you're done. Now you have to monitor, you have to calculate your cost, and you have to do upgrading. So monitoring, everything that I monitor is in the managed service. Firebase has a console, and App Store has a console, and Google Play Store has a console. I look at these three. It doesn't take me more than 5 minutes per week. So I look at this. If there's a problem, then I'll go and fix it. But if not, no need for me to come here too often. I also send receipts out. So receipts for sellers, receipts for buyers, and order sheets for sellers. So I keep track of all these things. These things are important for monitoring. Cost calculation. How much do I spend per year? I spend $142 per year. This is my cost breakdown. There's nothing else that I spend on. $142 a year is because I have to maintain the Apple developer account, which is $125 a year. Google does not charge me this. Google charges me $25 for life. Okay, so that's why I have this a bit of annoyance for Apple, and also their products are so only sometimes. So okay, oh boo. Okay, okay. Then there's a sunk cost because I have to buy this MacBook because I'm the developer. I can't just borrow every time I have to deploy. I have to borrow somebody's MacBook to do it. Right? That's crazy. So I had to buy this MacBook. Also costs a lot of money. My MacBook costs twice as much as my laptop. So there you go. Okay, upgrading. I will not talk so much about this. There's one more step you need to do when you upgrade your app, which is to research and estimate before you commit to any feature. And so I have some time. I will talk about geolocation because this is a case study that I want to show you how I upgraded my app and how my development flow goes. Okay, so let's go. Geo distance. I need to filter groups by distance. I want you to be able to find groups within your area and not whole of Singapore, because realistically you're not going to go to Yishun if you stay in like east side. There's a problem because I can't get geolocation. I can't get let along. How am I going to get it? There is a possibility to get it from Apple and Google Maps, but there's a cost and I need to integrate their system into my app. Fortunately, Singapore government is quite tech savvy. They created OneMaps API. It is free. It is a free service and it's quite amazing because first time I heard about it, I'm like, this can't be doing Google search or like Google Maps search, but they can. They can do routing. They can provide you with different maps with color codes. With you can even do partial routing with meaning on foot, a little bit on foot, a little bit by car. You can even do that, so it's quite powerful. And it's free. So what is OneMaps API? Like I said, Singapore Land Authority, if I'm not wrong, they produce this service. Pretty good. There's a very good developer documentation as well for this service. Okay, so I need to estimate, because on my side I need to filter also. So I need to do this thing called geohashing, because my database does not support lat and long calculations and then finding what's the distance, right? So what's a geohash? A geohash, you hash the lat and long and you compare two geohashes. The more similar they are in the front of the syntax, the closer they are in lat and long, latitude and longitude. I use this system to filter out groups within a certain distance very quickly. Okay, so obviously choice between the two, I choose API plus geohash. So task breakdown, I need to do these things that have to do with getting the location and filtering. After I do the task breakdown, I need to design it. I like one-touch buttons. One touch gets you what you want. So this is my design principle, my design philosophy. So this is my design for doing it. You touch that button, it will filter out for you groups within 1 km. Then the code. So you saw in my tools I use ChatGPT, right? This is done by ChatGPT, okay? I don't claim to do this code. Why? Because this is the Haversine formula. It calculates a distance from two lat longs. I'm not going to create this from scratch, from boilerplate. So 1 minute, I get this code, plug it in, test it, works, good. Then of course I need to, like I said, I test it. So filtering does work. Why I need the Haversine formula is because I want to display the actual distance, not just filtering. So I want to display the actual distance, so I use the Haversine formula to calculate distance. Then push. So push doesn't mean deploy. Okay, push means I push to my remote so that my typical cycle is I develop on my PC, which is a Windows. I bundle my app in the APK, and then I push to the GitHub. Then I need to get it on my Mac so that I can do it on Xcode. So Xcode is a different way of deploying. You deploy through Xcode. I don't have time to show you now, but this is the main gist of it. Okay, so in conclusion, let's talk about two things here, motivations and summary. I talk so much about developing apps as a solo developer. It's hard. If you don't have good motivations for doing it, you will hit roadblocks. You will struggle a little bit. Your code will not work. Your code will fail in production. You will be very demoralized. You need some motivation to keep you going. You need some discipline to keep you going. Like I said, this app took 8 months and I'm still maintaining it. And these are some of the motivations that I have for doing it. You don't need to agree with all the motivations. You can just have 2 or 3 or all of them, and I think that you can get started already. So this is a summary. Okay, I talked quite a lot of things. If you missed something, this is the summary slide on everything that I talked about today. I can show this slide later, or if you want to take a picture, I can come back to this slide. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we can probably do a short Q&A. Would you like that? Okay. Does anyone have
Yes, so is a choice between Q&A or live demo. I think Q&A is better.
Q&A is better? Okay, sure. We can take maybe a couple of questions. We will start with, okay, you.
My name is Syed. So my question to you is, how far can you go in terms of using the Google free tier, and how much user base can you actually support at the free tier?
That's a good question.
Just one more question on top of my two questions. Why is your database cost 50 cents? You go on by one first.
Okay.
My first question is why, how far can you go in terms of using Google free tier? Second question is, it's a follow-up question on the first question, which is how much user base can you support on the free tier? And lastly, why 50 cents only for your database? Okay,
I'll come to that. I have to pull up the Firebase billing to answer your question, because off the top of my head, right, write cost, read cost, and something. I remember write cost and read cost. Write cost is 50K per day. Read cost is 150 per day before you burst. So in my app, I limit my queries such that when the user opens the app and they see it, it's cached. So I don't keep querying the database. So that's the first thing on how I don't hit the thing. I have to show you the cost structure because there's a lot of payment. Yeah. Right. So if you go to Firebase services, you can find it. It's quite well done. You can even calculate it on
free tier, how much user base can you actually roughly support?
I can support. I ever calculated this. 13,000 users clicking per day. So when I look at my user journey, how users use my app, around 15,000 users can go on without bursting.
Per day?
Yes, per day.
Okay.
Per day.
Okay. And then I think the question you already answered, why your database
okay.
is 50 cents.
So why is it 50 cents? Okay. Unfortunately, right, I deploy my JavaScript code on the cloud for cloud server Lambda for AWS, right? They charge me for putting my code up there, even though I don't use. So it's a serverless function, okay? I pay per use, but they charge me. Let me think. Storage fee. I think 1 cent per day. I ever seen I was a bit curious also why that happens, but like I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's a thing. It's just a thing. So, oh well. Okay. Yes.
What's your monthly active user?
For now we just started. Yeah. We're also doing marketing. So right now we have one condo that is right now I have about 200 people. Active users, not so many because we haven't marketed. So 50 to 100, I would say. We are doing the marketing as right now. I'm not in charge of that, so I can't speak too much about it. But you probably haven't heard of my service, right? So that's why. So that's why you don't use it. So this is one of the things which is a bit complicated because there's so many apps out there. Hard to get users, but if you propose a value to the user, I think people will sign up. And the thing about my group buy is that you need the host first. So we do have a network of hosts ready to go. In fact, I think next week my co-founder is going to ask the network of hosts to host groups at different areas of Singapore. This is the thing. If you're a normal buyer, you don't want to be the host first. You don't want to. It's a bit scary, right? You're not a normal group buyer. So the host would support you first.
What is your monetization strategy?
So like, you mean how we charge people?
Yeah.
So we have the sellers pay a small percentage of each group buy that clears. The group buy is not small. It's about $800 to $1,000 each. I can't tell you how much it is because it's a secret, and because we contract. So they are not just run-of-the-mill sellers that will scam you and then run away with your money. All our sellers here are legit businesses that are doing B2B, and we contract them. So we actually paid for a lawyer's fee to do contracts with them. So that cost a bit of money as well, but we wanted to do that because their products are really high quality, restaurant standard stuff. Monetization, we already made money in testing because testing we asked our users to buy. So I needed to test the payments also. So we actually already made money during the testing. Now I'm trying to make up for the sunk cost, this laptop. So we are already there around there. And this is one condo. So we're trying to get the whole of Singapore to join. Yeah.
So the 13,000 you mentioned just now, it's a load testing. So
I can't load test. I estimate looking at the maximum number of queries that one person took, because I'm thinking, what is he doing like on the app? Because this is, I mean, you really don't know what the user will do, right? Like you can just keep clicking on the app and query, and then run 100 queries. I ever made a mistake. I used React. I didn't set dependency on my use effect, if you know what that means. And I ran it. I went to eat, and my queries ran up to 2 million. in 3 hours. $2. $2. It's very cheap. I paid for it lah. I paid for it, but yeah, that's how much. Oh yeah, sure.
So for Stripe, right, I used it before for Flutter app. I developed something similar. I found the fees a bit higher. So how do you deal with that?
You are right. It's daylight robbery, okay? Really very expensive. It cuts a lot of our profit. So we on our platform charge a fee so that we can make up for, we cater for the Stripe fee. We cater for the Stripe fee. I know it's expensive, that's why I'm trying to implement Paynow. Yeah, Paynow, so credit card is 3.4 plus 50 cents per transaction. Obscene. Paynow is 2.4 with no added cost, 2.4%. If I use HitPay, I ever look at all the different commerce platforms, it is 1 point something, very cheap. Cheaper. In addition, the problem is that integration with the app is not so simple. Paynow only support JavaScript. All platforms only support web-based. So what did I do? Flutter web view. If you want to pay by Paynow, I go to the web view, I query using the JavaScript. That's why I need to host the website. So the website hosts my Paynow gateway. So through that, I communicate. So Flutter has a way to communicate. There's a JavaScript channel. So if you go to a web page and it runs JavaScript, it can talk to the Dart code. So that's how I do it. Yeah. Yes?
How do you do the initial validation phase with your co-founder? Because he's handling a business, right? And how did it affect your technical architecture and your features?
Good question. He approached me with this idea. So he showed me the breakdown of how many users it takes to make this X amount of money. And I thought that, yeah, this is pretty legit. So I didn't do it. I'm not a business guy. He did the monthly active users, how many group buys you need. He also knew the sellers because I didn't do this validation basically. But there's a calculation to what is the estimate of the each group buy, how much we should charge them so that we make a little bit of profit first. Then if we get more and more users, then we just take this and times the number of users. So that's a very simple explanation. For me, it makes sense because he didn't use some business term like, wow, like you need to go VC and then pitch and then like talk about funding and then next 10 years kind of thing. No. It's a very simple concept. You sell this product, you get this amount of money. So that's how you do it. What's your other question?
How do you influence like what features you do?
Oh yeah, you're right. So architecture was a funny thing because most of the time, you do what you know first. Then you go and learn those things that you don't know because you have to. I sort of already knew Flutter because I did one app. My first foray into development was Java on Android. That one cannot deploy on iOS. So I knew roughly how to do Android development already. At that time, I haven't started doing React. I haven't started doing JavaScript. I only started after I joined my company. If you are a JavaScript developer, you probably want to choose React Native because it does the same thing, just that I feel that Flutter is better lah. I'm a bit biased, but there's some things that you can do in Flutter they cannot do in React Native. So that was front end, how it influenced front end. Back end, I knew about Firebase. I haven't used it yet, but I looked at the services and I see which one I need. Do they have it? I also use AWS and I looked at Azure. The one thing that they don't have is push notification. Both don't have. Only Firebase have. So it's a very easy choice for me. In terms of cost, I didn't look at it too much because I knew that I was not going to burst free tier in the first year. So that's the first thing. In terms of, because I grew as a developer, I understood how to migrate certain things already. So I realized that some parts of my apps can be migrated to another architecture, but I'm not going to do that yet. So for now, this is the influence is speed, how fast I can, whether the services are integrated, how fast can I integrate all the services together, how fast can I check all the services are running healthy, and how secure it is in terms of the highest priority in terms of quality. Like I said, is payments and user data, right? These two things are secured with the services I use. So there you go. Yes.